Periscopes.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for the face. Boom. There we are.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 191 of the F and Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one.
Yeah.
We got quite a bit to get into today. This is actually a good week because this is not the fourth consecutive week we have to do a prediction show for a fucking pay-per-view, so that's always a good thing. I was getting tired of fucking making predictions, especially because I keep not going perfect.
I mean, you did last week.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't have...
last week, when we got into... when we were discussing...
AEW.
Yeah, you got it right.
Oh, NXT, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Payback. I don't remember what pay-per-view it was. There's so many of them. Payback, I was actually perfect. That's right. AEW, I was not so perfect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were expecting Lance Archer to win that match, and spoiler alert, Lance Archer won the Casino Battle Royale. I was kind of surprised by that. I thought they'd go in a different direction, but what the hell do I know?
Both of us predicted the same person.
Yeah, we both predicted it.
And he was there until the end.
Eddie Kingston is the GOAT.
I can't wait to see what they do with Eddie Kingston. Like, you know, with Archer in particular, like, I just think that they messed up by not putting the TNT title on him.
Oh, I agree.
But
it was just a, they're still kind of young. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt with a lot of the stuff that they do because...
Well, in general, they're
kinda
going
new.
in a good direction.
Yeah, they still have to kind of figure out what they need to do to keep going in the right direction and everything. And this whole, like, you bring somebody in, most likely a cast off from WWE, have them beat Marco Stunt and a bunch of local competitors, and hey, have a title shot. I'm sorry, that's been my biggest gripe with them, the way that they've been booking stuff. But anyway, All Out happened last weekend. It was actually a pretty decent show. Meltzer did not give Kenny Omega a 5-star match in their match with the Revival, but they still had a pretty solid match with with FTR. We also have a new NXT champion who was crowned on Tuesday, which I still think that that's what they should do, is they should have NXT on Tuesday.
Not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen, but I still think that it's what's best for business. It's such good shit, pal. That's why I think that they should continue to have it on Tuesdays, but Vince McMahon is an old stubborn fuck, and he will not do anything other than what...
It'll look like I'm tucking and running from AEW.
But, I mean, for the wrestling fan, it would be a smart move for him to do it that way. I mean, if you want to keep losing the fucking NXT there to AEW every week, keep fucking doing it, buddy.
Speaking of which, AEW this week, I know they were not running a post to NXT, but they topped 1 million viewers. Somebody asked us probably about a month ago if we first saw AEW getting over 1 million viewers again. And, I thought they were going to have an uphill climb, but I'm glad, I don't think at that point, like with everything with the playoffs, that like going, oh, they're running unopposed. I didn't know which nights they were, and I'm glad for them. I mean, it was the kind of fallout show from All Out, so apparently people were interested to see what the heck was going on.
And I'm pretty sure NXT actually had pretty solid ratings again on Tuesday. And it's like you're going up against the NHL playoffs, and you're going up against the NBA playoffs, and Major League Baseball. And on Thursday, which is a good thing, there was no wrestling on Thursday. The greatest sport of them all, the NFL, returned.
And one thing on top of that is this week, one thing NXT did is they are completely stacking this Wednesday's show because obviously they're going to be back in direct competition with AEW. So we have 3 title matches that were made this week. So we'll get into that too.
It's going to be a lot going on. Also, there was more releases in WWE, even though they're making more money than they've ever made in the history of mankind.
No, I'm going to give and when we get into that, I'm going to give them a bit of a pass with some of this.
I'm not giving them shit. You know me. I'm not giving Vince McMahon a pass anymore. Fuck that guy. There, I said it. I meant it, and I'd say it again. Speaking of WWE releases, we have a former WWE superstar who made his debut on Dynamite this week. Dynamite drop-in, Monty. That
broadcast school really paying off.
I don't have it today.
Yeah? Well, I mean, it took you like a few minutes to brainless one yourself, so good.
Oh, I've been brainless. Petey,
We need you to come in from the bullpen.
You're gonna have to cover for the brainless one because I'm pretty sure this might be the fastest time that less than 5 minutes, like 3 minutes it took me to completely melt my brain and have no idea what the hell I'm even talking about. I'm not even making sense to myself.
Wow.
And if I can't make sense to myself, how am I supposed to make sense to everybody else?
Yeah.
I'm a mess. I'm an absolute mess right now.
Sad.
I should, we got to make a call. Where's the cat? Get Hercules up here. He's going to have to replace me.
Yeah.
Let them both in the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have the dog and the cat co-host with you because I just don't have it today. I just gotta leave.
All right.
I can't. My brain is like, I don't even know what it is right now. And it's amazing that my brain is anything because my brain is brainless. And that doesn't even make any sense. Wow.
You are on fire today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Brainless One. This is fantastic. I can't wait.
And I can't even blame it on alcohol or drugs. That's the
Thanks
worst
for
part.
tuning in, Luciano.
I can't even blame it on alcohol or pot. I just don't have it today.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna stick this out and we're gonna make this happen. If I need to sit through here and carry you over the finish line, damn it, I'm gonna do it.
This is like Ricky Vaughn's debut in the major leagues when he walked the first 3 batters he saw in 12 straight pitches through 1 strike to Clue Haywood, who he took another one that still hasn't landed, and then flunked the next batter.
You're gone. You threw him at him on purpose.
He was crowding the plate.
So good. Anyway,
blow out your ass up.
All right. So do we want to get a little more in depth with some of these news and notes here?
Yeah, let's get into the news and notes.
Now, do we want to start with the releases?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's talk about the releases. It gives me a chance to talk shit about Vince while freaking tripping over myself for the next 12 minutes.
All right. So WWE has released what's been reported 60 plus staffers this week. And 3 of them are pretty high, well known.
And most of them have been furloughed since this whole coronavirus has happened because you don't really need, all of these staffers when you don't have a lot of like travel and all this shit happening. For me, the biggest surprise on that list was Gerald Briscoe.
Yeah.
And it's not because Gerald Briscoe. Okay, I don't want to discount Gerald Briscoe. Gerald Briscoe was a tremendous talent as an in-ring performer many moons ago. Gerald Briscoe was very influential for whatever reason during the time of the Attitude Era when he was
one of the stooges.
Him and Pat Patterson were basically Vince McMahon's stooges about 20 some odd years ago.
I think they were. He was also part of the Kiss My Ass Club.
He was part of the Kiss My Ass Club. One of the most embarrassing moments in professional wrestling history happened. I believe it was him and Pat Patterson in an evening gown match, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that.
I do believe that match did take.
And he is a former hardcore champion and a former 24/7 champion. And Pat Patterson, for somebody who has been working there for 36 years.
Gerald Briscoe.
That's what I'm sorry. Gerald Briscoe. That's the
I know it's easy enough to get the Stooges confused.
It's kind of hard when one's Gerald Briscoe, who's one of the greatest brotherly tag teams of all time, and the other one just like taking it up the butt. Pat Patterson was gay.
He still is.
Yeah, he is. He was the first. Was he the first? No, he wasn't the first openly gay. They came out after the fact, right?
He didn't officially come out until Legends House, actually. Like everybody more or less knew, but he never actually said it. So, anyway.
But he was let go after 36 years, 36 or 34.
36 years with the company.
Right.
Got a phone call from Vince McMahon. More or less, Briscoe, sounds like Briscoe was like going, I think I'm ready for retirement. He didn't say those words, but it sounded like he's still going to be doing things with WWE. And, I think with Briscoe and also Mike Rotunda, who was one of the people that was furloughed originally back when the coronavirus started, was now officially released, and so was Sarah Stock. But most of the positions of people who have been released right now are specifically like people that are part of the road crew and road agents and things like that. So I understand why WWE is doing this right now, because they don't foresee having live events. Why are you going to keep a road producer around if they're going to just sit there and not work? I mean, they could have, I guess, just kept them as furloughed. I think right now it was just so they could let them, my opinion, let somebody like Mike Rotundo go so he could get a job if he wants to. Because I think because they were furloughed, they were not allowed to seek employment elsewhere. So, you know, that's at least my take on it. And it's like, again, it's road crew. You're not on the road. So
doesn't give you a lot of confidence that they're going to be getting on the road anytime soon either, if the fact that they are releasing a lot of the people who are part of the road crew. And I guess I can understand with them getting rid of a lot of the people who were working on the road crew who were furloughed. But it's like, really, I'm like, it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth just because Vince McMahon is just getting rid of everybody. And it's like, I can understand that WWE was trying to save money, but the fact is that they did more money. They made more money in that freaking quarter during the coronavirus than
and with that, the people they released were actually still getting paid during that because they had to pay them through the end of their non-compete.
Yeah, the 90-day non-compete. The only ones that were released that didn't have the 90-day non-compete were the FTR, the Revival, who subsequently went straight to AEW. Like, nobody was surprised that they did.
All right, so Chris Brown kind of chiming in about this, and this might also explain a little bit more into the 60 staffers being let go. There is talk within WWE of not bringing back house shows, or at least limiting them. We know that house shows were kind of losing money for them, but again, I come back to the idea of when they do house shows, that's how you get small kids excited about these things, and I just think that you are you're building for the next generation by doing house shows, and you're selling merchandise by doing house shows. And I don't think they'll completely do away with them, but I think it's going to definitely be limited. And you know what? I think in general, not just monetarily, I'm talking about for the wrestlers, it's probably better for their bodies. They're not going to have to travel like the crazy amounts they do. And I think overall, it'll be a good idea.
One person in particular that I wanted to bring up, since you actually said that about the wrestlers not traveling and everything, is AJ Styles. AJ Styles was on his Twitch account because he does his video gaming and all that stuff, and that's how he converses with his fans. He said, somebody had asked him on his Twitch account about how he feels about everything with coronavirus, and he said, he goes, as much as it sucks that this virus is doing what it's doing to this entire world, where it's killing all these people and everything, he's like, it's kind of nice for me because I'm not traveling as much. I'm not spending as much time on the road. I'm spending more time at home. He's like, I'm spending more time with my kids. He's like, my son's is on the varsity football team. He's like, and I get to watch my son play college or high school football and everything. He's like, and it's awesome. He's like, the only downside, and he's like, that I have now is that he's like, I work on Fridays, and a lot of my son's games are going to be on Fridays. So he was actually talking about even retiring, even though he's got 4 years on his contract remaining. But that would just be stupid if you did that. But if you sign that long term, I can understand, because this has only happened. This hasn't happened since like the 1920s, where we have a situation where a plague has basically just ripped through an entire world, the way that the coronavirus has done to this world. And a lot of people are having like different mindsets now because things are different now. People, I think that with the way the coronavirus has actually done things, a lot of people are going to be doing things differently. I think that the masks are going to be a new norm around here.
Well, I think every flu season now, people are going to wear them because, like, do you have coronavirus or do you have the flu?
Yep.
I mean, there are similar symptoms between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Even allergy season, think about it. it's like a lot of the allergies that are like, I know for me, when fall comes and when spring comes, I get hit with allergies, and cough and scratchy throat happens to me. How do I know what the hell I have?
Well, like with work, the questionnaire that they ask every single morning is, do you have a cough? Not accustomed with allergies. And I'm pretty sure that now that we're getting closer to flu season, they're going to ask you, do you have the flu? I'm like, do you have because of the temperatures, the coughing, the runny nose, all that shit, the shaking and all that stuff. I also wouldn't be surprised if freaking flu numbers went, because of the fact that more people are wearing masks and more people are doing the social distancing thing. Plus, the fact is that a lot of kids are still doing that
from home.
The homeschooling, and I mean, yes, there are schools around the country that are actually still sending their kids off to school and everything,
but few and far between.
Few and far between. So, like now, the parents who are more inclined to send their sick child to school because neither one of them can take the day off from work because they need the money. So now the kid's staying at home, which means they're not spreading it to their classmates, which means they're not spreading it to their parents. I think that flu is actually going to go down. I don't know why the fuck we're talking about the flu in a wrestling podcast. But
well, I mean, we're talking about the world, man.
Well, I think that in general, a lot of things are going to change because of the coronavirus.
A lot of things already have changed, and I think what's going to happen is there's going to be some forever changes, and not necessarily always wearing masks, but like all these businesses, including WWE and AEW, are having to operate differently. And I think some of those changes, they actually probably are like, you know what, this is probably a good change overall. So maybe we need to incorporate this more often.
The one change that I actually laugh about now is now because they've been doing the homeschooling with the freaking, cyber schooling and everything like that. No more snow days. And because you and I, growing up in Bristol, there was not a city. I don't think there's many cities in this country that benefited more from snow days than Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah.
But I can understand it because it's like it's got to be nice to these wrestlers that they're only working like one day a week, maybe and then the second day during the month, when they got the pay-per-views and everything like that. And
this harkens back to the days of WCW. WCW had a far less rigorous travel schedule than WWE, and that's why all the older guys were like, hey, I still got a name. I'm going to sign a big money deal here, and I'm going to work less days and do less wear and tear on my body. I mean, between the less wear and tear on the body, the less travel. And I mean, how long have we been harping on WWE to either take a couple months off or rotate guys in and out so they have at least a little bit of an off season? Because doing all those house shows, I mean, driving in a car for hours on end is not good for you. Like I have friends who drove trucks for a living, and you know what happened to all of them? Like their back ended up getting messed up. Because if you're just sitting in a vehicle for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, eventually your spine's going to be like, and
trust me, getting out of a vehicle 80 to 100 something times a day, 5 days a week for 11 years is going to take a severe toll on your body because you're just putting all this strain on your back, like getting up and going, sitting up and up and down, up and down, moving and all that stuff.
Well, like truck drivers, I mean, sometimes they're just on the road 8 hours. And that's what they did. My college roommate, his dad was a truck driver for 35 years, retired at a young age. He was in his 50s still, but couldn't get any more towards retirement. So he's like, all right, I'm done. Well, he had back issues the last several years he was driving. My Tim, who tunes into the podcast, and Tommy, who is an F and Marks Hall of Famer, their dad was a truck driver for years, and his back was all messed up. So the fact that they're not driving around, they won't be driving around as much. What they do to their bodies in the ring messes up their back. So it's like, hopefully this will be overall good for the wrestlers when we come out of the virus completely.
I wouldn't be opposed to them doing maybe a house show a week. Because I know,
and I'm sure they wouldn't either. It gets them
practice, and it keeps them so they don't freaking look rusty and everything. Because I know for a fact that the first wrestling show you went to was a house show. You went to the one at Muskie Field. The first house show I ever went to the first wrestling show I ever went to was at the Hartford Civic Center. Technically, that was my first wrestling show. I was supposed to go to a different one, which was a pay-per-view, but we're not going to go into that. But like, it's like, yeah, but I guess on the downside of it, like if you really want to like attract the younger audience and you want to get the fans to like really show appreciation, you need to have you need the house shows. Because yes, it's very, it's nice when Monday Night Raw and SmackDown are in Sacramento, California, or they're in Seattle, Washington, or they're in Cleveland, Ohio, and etc. But it's like it's the lower, smaller markets, like
around here.
Like around here. I mean, we're fortunate enough that they still do. They'll try to have like a SmackDown here like once every 18 months, which is nice. I don't remember the last time they did a Raw or SmackDown from the Harvard Civics, or I'm sorry, the XL Center. Or the fact that the last time they did it from
we'll get to your question in a second, Aaron. So
or the last time they did one in Uncasville or anything like that. That's what the house shows are for, because they still do them in all those areas. And we still like going to those things because it's like $15-$20 to go, and you sit in the slight nosebleeds and you get to enjoy yourself for 2.5 hours. There's no storylines, there's no Michael Cole, there's no Vince McMahon fucking shit up. It's just wrestling. You just go out there and you get these crazy matchups because, like, yes, they have all these things that are leading up to storylines, and I get it. Like when you went and you got to see Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon wrestle at Bristol Central High School, and you got to see them have their WrestleMania 10, warm-up match, or one of many warm-up matches. And yes, but you get to see stuff you don't normally see. Like I went, one of the last shows I went to when I was a kid.
At that show, I also saw Owen Hart wrestle.
One of the freaking house shows I went to, it was actually at the New Haven Coliseum. I will never forget it because it was Bret Hart teaming up with The Undertaker against Shawn Michaels and Diesel. And at the time, Diesel and Shawn Michaels were feuding, and The Undertaker and Bret Hart were feuding. So it was kind of like, it was some kind of combination. The two of them were feuding with each other and all that stuff. And I remember, I went to the Saturday show and nothing happened. Well, the following night they did a house show at Madison Square Garden, and Kevin Nash freaking powerbombed Shawn Michaels, and they talked about it on Raw the next night. Like, why would Kevin Nash do this to Shawn Michaels at a house show? And I'm like, and every once in a while, like mainly the Hartford Civic Center or the Madison Square Garden shows, they change titles at house shows.
Every once in a while. And
it's
I remember Miz and Morrison one of the times, I think they won the title, I think was at a house show. And I think it was
AJ Styles,
Paul London and Brian Kendrick one time won tag titles at a house show. AJ won, was it US?
The United States title from Kevin Owens at a house show at Madison Square Garden. Mickey James, one of her 6 title runs, actually happened at a mistake at a house show that she wasn't supposed to win. But
it happens.
I as a common sense type of a person who's been watching wrestling for as long as I have, I understand. I can only imagine, because after all these years, I've seen what the mat looks like in the ring, what the wrestlers are doing. Like every time hitting that thing, I mean, for crying out loud, the Undertaker documentary, The Last Ride, definitely put a lot of things in perspective as a whole, and just seeing like what people are going through. Like he's going to his doctor, and the doctor's like, "What's wrong this time?" And he's listing off all the injuries he's had over the years, and he's like, "No, it's not this. No, it's not this." And it's like, "Oh, it's my hip and everything." And just seeing
the Stone Cold sessions with the Undertaker, where like Stone Cold, how you feeling? And he's more or less kind of like, as good as I can, for what I put my body through.
Because a lot of people, for all those years, a lot of people thought that they were just hitting like a mat and like just something that would bounce, like they're on like a spring, like a trampoline type of thing. And then when they start tearing it apart, and it's like, holy shit, they're landing on plywood
that has like a about a 1-inch pad.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't shit. But
I'm all for them doing less shows just to save the wrestlers, because they really don't need to be putting their bodies through that for 250 days out of the year or whatever it is.
And coming back to the original point about the layoffs, if it's true, Chris, that they're going to get rid of most house shows, then it's understandable that they're laying off these people if they're not going to continue this, or it's going to be a diminished capacity. Chris is even saying, like, they're still going to do the house show runs in the international markets.
Well, that's understandable because you're trying to
Well, once you
expand.
get-
Yeah. You know, if they had to do that, if it was a situation where they're like, all right, listen, you're gonna have to do a European tour for 2 weeks, or you're gonna have to do an Asian tour for 2 weeks, or you're gonna have to do this, and then they come back and it's like, hey, you don't have to do Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or.
So one thing also with this is, as much as I do not support them doing any of the Saudi Arabia shows at all, at least, you know, hopefully when they do these, the wrestlers are at least a little more rested and they have more time to get out there and not like jump onto some cargo plane, fly 14 hours and land, do the show, get back on the plane, so they have to get back for Raw or SmackDown. I mean, yeah, they'll probably do the show on like Friday, and they'll have to fly back for Raw or SmackDown. Or heck, I'd almost think it would be better off for them. Why don't you just do SmackDown in Saudi Arabia, and or don't just don't send your entire staff. Like if they're going to do Raw, have them go and do Raw, and then just fly them out there. Take some of the SmackDown people there, because like not all the people, or pre-tape it, or you just don't send everybody because a lot of them aren't going to want to go. The Miz doesn't want to go. Daniel Bryan doesn't want to go. You know, if you maybe like if you have to send like, okay, we have to choose between either sending AJ Styles or Roman Reigns, you send one of those two, and then the other one could work SmackDown for you. And it seems like Saudi Arabia actually likes more of the legends to show up.
You know, if they want
Undertaker,
Goldberg, Undertaker, Goldberg, Sting, they want Hulk Hogan to come out. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. That blood money is gonna be way too much, and Hulk Hogan is like, brother. The one person I would never be surprised if they wrestled in Saudi Arabia would be Ric Flair.
Ric Flair wanted to do a spot with Hulk Hogan in that match.
I know he did.
And Vince put the poo-poo on that, which one of the good decisions he made.
By the way, they have the I forget what the name of the site is, but they have the cameos where they can have the people come and cut like a promo on you. For the most part, a lot of them are like $25.
Yeah.
To have Ric Flair cut a promo on you is $600. Ric Flair is actually the most expensive person on there. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off because Duke Josie isn't eligible for that. Like Duke Josie doesn't need $25. I'd probably be paying his rent every single month because I would be getting all these videos and be like,
well,
I don't know if this one, you are the reason why I did what I did. Just so I could have him come out and cut a promo on us saying that Jay, he is well above the Coco Beware line and he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
You know what? You wouldn't be paying Duke Josie's, rent. You'd probably be paying his meth bill or heroin problem.
I want to, I'm gonna have to go.
I hope he's cleaned his act up.
I hope that Coco.
You see what I did? See what I did there? Hope Duke Josie cleaned up his act. See if he's garbage man.
See if he's sanitized.
Yeah. So anyway,
it must be bad for him when he's upset because he's definitely down in the dumps.
I'll be here all day.
I think my brain is finally starting to function in a proper way.
All right.
But my whole thing is like with the releases is always fuck Vince. That's always been my mindset. And that's been my mindset, especially now in 2020. It's been like, fuck Vince. It's like, you fucking bankrupted the freaking XFL. Fuck you. You freaking let all those wrestlers go at a time where there was like, you shouldn't be doing this. Fuck you, Vince.
Yeah.
You're making money more than you've ever made in your entire life. Fuck you, Vince. I'm just so tired of it. I can't do it anymore. I just can't with Vince anymore.
Okay.
I just can't. Everything he does is bad. Vince McMahon could save a litter of puppies from a pet store fire, and I would still find a reason to not like him. And I love puppies.
Yeah.
I love puppies.
Yeah.
He's out cold. Yeah. He's fine. He's bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so it was just, I thought it was kind of surprising that Mike Rotundo got released. In case, just in case, the novice fans might not. I mean, obviously the hardcore marks of the podcast know who Mike Rotundo is.
He is the father of The Fiend.
In my opinion, the most talented person in all of WWE. The Fiend.
All around.
No questions. And he's also the dad of Bo Dallas.
He is also a 5-time tag team champion in WWF. Should be in the Hall of Fame. He was, I believe, TV champion and tag champion in NWA/WCW. A man well over the Coco Beware line and should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He's been a road agent for them since 2006. It sucks after all these years of service that, he's let go. But again, if you're not going to do house shows, what do you need a road agent for?
Exactly.
So if this is so that the man could go out and earn a living, so be it. But also, at this stage, he's probably close to retirement age. So, and maybe that's what Vince is looking at. Again, if they're doing less house shows and saving the wrestlers, a guy like Sheamus is going to benefit greatly for this with the spinal stenosis and all the crap he's put his body through for the years.
Bray Wyatt is another one.
He could probably, the wrestlers now could probably wrestle for longer and not look sad going to the ring like, the Undertaker did in the last few years, or Mick Foley in the last few appearances he made, in the wrestling ring. It's like, hopefully we don't have to see that so much.
But I will say this, though. I remember growing up and
we'll get to that in a second.
15 years ago, watching Hulk Hogan fight, not even just Shawn Michaels, but the following year when he fought Randy Orton. It was basically the last time we saw Hulk Hogan wrestle in the WWE was when he fought Randy Orton at the 2006 SummerSlam. And it's Hulk Hogan at that time was 50-something years old, because he's 30 years older than I am, so he's got to be 67 at this point. So, seeing him wrestle was just kind of sad, because it's you're Hulk Hogan. You were supposed to be the immortal one. You told me to take my vitamins and say my prayers, and you could beat the shit out of anybody. And it's now watching you, and it's just watching my freaking grandfather walk down the hallway or something like that. It's sad to see Hulk Hogan. Same thing with Ric Flair. But now, in this day, Hulk Hogan looked bad in his early 50s. Now we look at it, and it's in 2020, I think with the advances of medicine and the fact that, it's just gotten better. And one person who I never liked as a wrestler, but I love as a human being, and Diamond Dallas Page with the DDP yoga. You look at Goldust, who's in his early 50s.
Dude,
Chris Jericho.
Goldust, a.k.a. the natural Dustin Rhodes, had a hell of a match this Wednesday.
Yeah.
And the dude's in his early 50s.
50 years old. He had a match against his brother last year.
Match of the year for me by far.
Was a 5-star match. Had his first 5-star match at 50. Chris Jericho, who just recently turned 50, which still freaking weirds me out that Chris Jericho is 50 years old, but it makes sense because he's been wrestling for 30 years. Chris Jericho at 50 years old was ranked number three in PWI's rankings of the top 500 wrestlers in the world. Chris Jericho in 2020 was number 3. And he still looks good for a freaking rock star who drinks heavily, who still drinks. Chris Jericho looks great for 50. Dustin Rhodes looks great for 50 in his 50s.
To me, Dustin, with him specifically, he doesn't look great for 50. He would look great for a 30-year-old.
He would look great for 42.
What the heck you call it? With Jericho, if you compare him to what he looked like in his last WWE run, he's not as cut as he was, but he said specifically this is to be his heel persona.
Yeah.
He wanted to bulk up specifically to enhance this. I think if he wanted to, he could get himself back into that the shape he was, because I know he's still into the DDP yoga and still into doing all that, but he's all right, I'm gonna make my body different for this. So,
but even look at some of the guys in WWE. Look at Shelton Benjamin. Would you have thought that Shelton Benjamin was 46 years old? He looks damn good for 46.
And he still looks like a freaking ass kicker, man.
Look
at R-Truth.
Oh, God, yes.
That dude's like the ageless wonder.
I don't even think anybody knows how old R-Truth really is.
I want to say that R-Truth is 49. But his favorite wrestler growing up, John Cena, is still in great shape, and he's like 43.
AJ Styles is still one of the best wrestlers in the world at 42. It is in incredible shape. Jeff Hardy's the exception to the rule. Jeff Hardy, I'm surprised, can even still walk to this day.
Speaking of which, you want to talk about something that happened this past week at All Out. His brother took one of the scarier bumps he's had a couple of scary bumps recently. This one, like, as much as the chair to the face was scary as shit, this one was worse because, when you hit the back of your head, that's the soft spot, and I forgot what the hell. If you watch WrestleMania 4, Gorilla Monsoon gives the technical term for the soft part of the back of your head. That's where Matt Hardy hit. But
he definitely scrambled his eggs on that one too.
Yeah, and to me, I didn't like that they continued the match. And I'm sure it was Matt Hardy saying, I need to finish this match. But he clearly was not in his right mind.
And I will say this, that a lot of the wrestling fans came out
Our truth is 48.
A lot of the wrestling fans came out on social media and blasted the shit out of AEW. And it's like, you're going to have this man continue this match. And it's like, if Matt Hardy said he wanted to finish this match, I'm sorry, you got to do what's right. What is right, okay? You just got to do it that way. I mean, you think about it like when, I remember a couple of years ago when it was Enzo and Big Cass going up against the Vaudevillains. And it was
when Enzo hit the
ropes and just like knocked himself out cold. And it's like, he could have woken up and like, okay, I'm fine, let me get back in the ring. They're like, no, fuck this. You're not wrestling the rest of this match.
Well, even think Daniel Bryan when he got the stinger in that match against, I think it was Orton.
Yep.
And they said, we're calling the match. Bryan was pissed off, but I think Triple H was the one who made the call, and guess what? It was the right one because he had, I think, a messed up arm for quite a while because it effed up the nerves in his body. So
speaking of Daniel Bryan, I haven't seen him in a wrestling match since I think No,
I think it's because of the baby and all that stuff,
which is fine because they're in a spot, especially on both shows. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that, but I think it's a good spot right now because they could do stuff like that, and I think it's in his contract where he doesn't have to work as many shows. He's got the Randy Orton contract, the one that Shawn Michaels had all those years ago, where they pick the amount of dates, and it's good because they can go without having Daniel Bryan for like a month or two or a couple, for whatever it is, so he can go and play dad for two kids and everything, and then come back and just be who he is. And I think that with going back to what we were talking about with the lesser schedule, it's gonna help Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, who was one of those people that we were like, he was like, look, I just signed this 3-year contract when I came out of retirement, and I basically knew I was done because I knew when I was going to be finished. I think now that they're spending less time on the road, it might lead to him going, hey, you know what? Maybe I can do this a little bit longer. Maybe I can go until I'm like 47 years old. Because Daniel Bryan, I think, just turned 40. If not, he's about to turn 40.
So Mike brought up, where is Bo Dallas? Speaking of which, Bo Dallas is still officially under contract with WWE. If they're going to kind of cut back on house shows, at this point, Bo Dallas really has not been on TV. I think maybe on Main Event on rare occasion. So it's like, if they do truly cut back on house shows, there won't be a need for Bo Dallas unless they start using him on TV or put him into a different role. It would be sad if they put him into a role like his dad was in, but or maybe an NXT trainer. But I don't know. He's still employed though.
The only way that it would actually work is if they put him with his brother.
He could be part of the
new
Wyatt family
thing. Speaking of which, I think we actually got a little bit clearer of a picture of what's going on in regards to everything with SmackDown and Bray Wyatt and all that stuff. So on SmackDown this week, last night, they had a fatal 4-way match to determine the new number 1 contender for Bayley Manning. Now, my biggest problem I had with it, and then it just got a little bit clearer after the show last night, was Tamina Snuka, it was Lacey Evans, it was Nikki Cross, and it was Alexa Bliss. And it's like, these are all women who in the last year have already fought for the SmackDown Women's title against Bayley, when you had somebody like Mandy Rose, who hasn't had a chance to fight for the title yet, just kind of sitting in the wings.
Even Sonya Deville.
Well, Sonya Deville's taking that time away.
No.
But
You said over the last year.
You're right. Well, even Sonya Deville could have had that opportunity. Obviously now with her taking some time off to get her mind right after basically a kidnapping attempt failed at her house. But they had that chance, and they decided to go with this fatal 4-way. And, Bayley came out, cut this promo. I don't know what the hell she said. I kind of fell asleep through it because she's fucking boring.
No, come on. It was a good promo.
Please. She's basically, all she needs to do from now on before she cuts a promo is, can I speak to the manager and then go off? Then I'll be happy. Give me a reason to fucking want to listen to Bayley talk, because I really don't want to. Because it's bad. I can't stand Bayley.
Let's get back into.
So basically, after she cut the promo, she was going backstage, and Nikki Cross was making her way to the ring, and she attacked Nikki Cross. And then Alexa Bliss came out during the commercial break to check on Nikki before the match started to make sure she was okay. And people were wondering what the hell was going to happen with Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss kind of got herself involved in the whole Fiend Braun Strowman storyline, where she was seen at the.
All right. Well, we've already gone over that a million times. But
during the match,
let's talk about the spot.
Well, it's gonna. So we get to the point. There was a point in the match where Alexa Bliss was checking on Nikki Cross and grabbed her and hit her with Sister Abigail. Did the whole kiss and everything, and I was like, oh shit. Now after that happened, a lot of people were speculating because they were teasing a new character on the Firefly Funhouse, and a lot of people were expecting it was going to be Alexa Bliss's character was going to be part of the Firefly Funhouse.
But no, we
were supposed to get some kind of like parrot, and I guess he was like, I guess I didn't cut any holes in the thing. And most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, we got a returning McBoss Man. It's such good shit, pal. I fucking love that. That is my favorite part about the Firefly Funhouse is when he actually has conversations. He's the most talented person, pound for pound, all around in the fucking WWE. I don't care what anybody says. He is the most creative, and he is the most talented, and I will defend that man until the day I die.
I don't 100% agree with that statement, but I'll take it. I would say all around, perhaps more talented, maybe not quite as creative, would be Adam Cole, baby.
Pound for pound as a wrestler and as a talker on the microphone.
Adam Cole can do circles around the Fiend in the ring. His character is awesome. I like
to see him pull the fucking Firefly Funhouse out of his action. You know I love Adam Cole.
No, he can't, but that's not his character, and that's not where he's coming from. His character, Adam Cole, baby's character is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
His creativity is more with how he puts together his matches.
Exactly.
And Bray Wyatt is creative with his character and the twists and turns.
Adam Cole, the difference between Adam Cole and I'm not trying to discount Adam Cole by any means.
Oh, and I don't think you are. You're just saying that the Fiend is or Bray Wyatt is your favorite all-around performer. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I love Adam Cole because Adam Cole goes out there and he tells a great story inside the ring. And that he can go out and have a match against anybody.
And even outside the ring. He's a great promo.
Think about this. He carried Pat McAfee, an NFL punter, to a watchable match. Like, Pat McAfee did not look like a freaking scrub at all. Adam Cole had to carry that thing. McAfee didn't look good. McAfee could be a professional wrestler. I've been saying that. He's got everything that you look for in a wrestler, except for the fact that he doesn't wrestle. But Adam Cole is a guy that you know is going to carry somebody to a really good match and do all this stuff. And he tells the story by how he works inside the ring and cuts his promos and gets the fans behind him. Bray Wyatt is just, he's got this, like, it's all about creativity. And with him, he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to feed an audience, and he gives them what they want to hear.
He's mesmerizing.
He is. He is extremely creative. And it's all about, building creativity into your character, and he does a wonderful job at that, and he tells a great story. He is a guy, since he made his re-debut as Bray Wyatt all those years ago, been a guy that I've been following since then. I want to see him succeed. The fact that he is a one-time WWE champion and a two-time Universal champion, although that second title reign was a little short-lived, and I get it why they did what they did, but I like seeing him on the screen because I am entertained every single time he's out there.
All right, so Chris is chiming in saying the only person he thinks in kind of WWE history who has been as creative as Bray Wyatt with character is Mick Foley. I mean, I remembered him, and I loved him as Cactus Jack, but when he came back as Mankind, and like specifically like that interview with Jim Ross, where like they did sit down, and he talks about how talking about how he smiles when he gets hurt, but it's not that he doesn't get hurt. It's just how he lives. And then when he ends up kind of beating up Jim Ross and makes him like squeal like a pig and all that crap, like that was creativity through the roof.
Oh, God.
I know you love the Dude Love. I was not a huge fan of the Dude Love.
I like the Dude Love because Dude Love was a character that he created
when he was
his mastermind as a kid, and that's what have mercy. I fucking loved that because I'm like, could you imagine being a professional wrestler and they're gonna let you have the character that you developed as a child and you turned into whatever it is, where you're going in the backyard and beating the shit out of your cousins and your brothers and your neighbors and your friends as that character, and it comes to life in a WWF ring.
Dream come true, man.
And it's like I just like the sentimental part about that made me just enjoy it to a point where I've actually been trying to talk to Big C about us dressing up as the three faces of Foley for freaking Tidewater Comic-Con, and he looks at me and goes, "I want Cactus Jack," and I'm like, "Dude, I want to be Dude Love. Somebody else can be Mankind. I don't want to be Mankind. I want to be Dude Love, man." I could go around there wearing freaking a tie-dye shirt and super bright blue pants on. Ow, have mercy. And I agree with that, Chris. I actually do agree with that. Mick Foley is in that kind of stratosphere of somebody who tells a really good story, is very creative, and all around one of those guys that is just such an influential figure in the professional wrestling industry. There's not too many people in the industry I respect more than Mick Foley. I love Mick Foley.
And kind of rounding out a little bit with this, with everything with the Fiend and the Firefly Funhouse, we did officially get a new character, which, I mean, a little of me was, I guess, mildly kind of like going, that's so petty, but...
Oh, really?
Wobbly Walrus, who is basically Paul Heyman.
I said it with Vince at the same time. I started saying it in the show. It's such good shit, pal. I'm like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah. But, like, so Wobbly Walrus comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wobbly Walrus." And it's like, and Vince in the back is like,
that's such good shit.
Like, for real, is saying that. And it just, not the evil Mr. McBossman character. But
somebody did bring up a really good point on Twitter. They said, could you imagine if they make Wobbly Walrus the head of talent, the head of creativity for the Firefly Funhouse, kind of like how Heyman was the head of creative for Monday Night Raw, and then it just starts like falling apart and everything. That would be epic.
Yeah.
He doesn't even. He looks like.
Oh, wait. All right, Chris Brown saying somebody said it's a combination of Heyman and Kevin Dunn because of the teeth.
If they brought in the Bucktooth Beaver onto the Firefly Funhouse and they called it Kevin, I would shit my pants.
What if they bring Andy Reid with his face mask to be next to Wobbly Walrus.
They want to know the difference. Which one is Wobbly Walrus and which one's Andy Reid? They look identical.
Right. So.
And speaking of Andy Reid, the fact that that man came out and said, "I wear my ring to get free cheeseburgers," is like the greatest thing I've ever heard anybody say. I want him to win all the Super Bowls now. I want the Chiefs to go on like a 9 Super Bowl fucking winning streak. And they win 9 in a row. They come down as a dynasty, and like, I don't even care. It's not even about the Patriots anymore. It's about Andy Reid getting free cheeseburgers. I don't care about anything else anymore. If that means I don't see the Giants win the Super Bowl for the next decade, that's fine. As long as Andy Reid keeps winning the Super Bowls, so he gets all the rings, and he's like, "Hey, look at all the rings. Let me get a cheeseburger."
Yeah.
It would have been the only way it would have been better is if Sexy Rexy had gotten it just to get a free cheeseburger, because we know he would.
Right.
Although he works at ESPN, so he gets all the free cheeseburgers as it is.
Yeah, he just goes to McDonald's across the street. And we did get a question a little bit ago. Is Sasha Banks injured? Storyline, yes. Real life, no. For one time, she is not injured. They did this for the storyline for Bayley and Sasha, to break them up. And I, unlike you, enjoyed Sasha's promo where like she more or less like, Bayley's promo where she was like, I know that Sasha was using me, but she didn't realize that I was using her at the same time. I wanted to get 2 titles, and I knew that Sasha was lying in wait to do the same thing to me, so I struck first, and she just didn't see it coming. And at the end, Bayley's like, to me, Sasha, you're useless. But overall, with this whole thing with SmackDown, I don't like the fact that, like with the women's fatal 4-way match, that it's 4 women who have lost to Bayley recently. That they should have put somebody in there. Obviously, like at Clash of Champions, we are going to get some kind of fuckery with Sasha and or Nikki Cross, or Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross, and maybe it's going to be both of them are going to be in.
Could you imagine if the Fiend stuck his nose in Bayley's business, and then she shows up to the Firefly Funhouse talking about speaking to a manager, and they have her argue with Wobbly the Walrus?
That
would be my mark out moment of the year.
So, but overall, I enjoy the arc of the Sasha Bayley storyline. I mean, it looked like it should have kind of finished off like 3 WrestleManias ago, but since they've revived it, Sasha lately has been a good soldier for the company, even though I still don't and won't ever agree with the fact that she walked out.
My thing about this whole situation is kind of what I've been saying for years about how social media has killed the wrestling industry, just like ESPN has killed sports.
I'm not going to say killed because it would be gone.
Ruined.
There you go.
I would say that the internet social media has destroyed and ruined professional wrestling, just like ESPN has ruined professional sports. Because with ESPN and what I mean when I say they ruin sports, I always look back to a time a few years ago where there was a guy named Mark Burley. I know you didn't remember Mark Burley. He was a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, and he threw a perfect game. And in the 100+ years of Major League Baseball, it's only happened like 13 or 14 times at that time that somebody threw a perfect game. And do you think it was the lead story on SportsCenter that day? No. The lead story on SportsCenter that day was Michael Vick. And then the second leading story of that day, I believe, was LeBron James. Because they only care about LeBron James, Tim Tebow, Johnny Manziel, Tom Brady, and that whole lot of and people. Back then. And it's all about what's the best story, not like what is going on in sports. A basketball player can have a 5-double, whatever it is, because I know that a quadruple double would be
it's only happened a handful
like 3 times in NBA history. If a player did five double-digit blocks, points, rebounds, assists, and steals, I think it would still be like the second half of the second hour of SportsCenter, and then it's like, oh, this guy took a dump in a restaurant. That's more important. But like with social media, it really has taken a toll on the wrestling industry, because like they just did this whole Sasha and Bayley split and everything, and it's like, well, now WWE is concerned that they waited too long to do this split, and it's like they can't do anything without like all these different outlets trying to dissect what they did. It's like you can't do anything without trying to figure out what Dave Meltzer is going to say, or what Brian Alvarez is going to say, or Sean Ross Sapp, or the Solid Monster, or the fucking effing Marks, like what we say. There's all these people out there that just try to dissect every little thing. And the problem is that there's so many people that are on the inside that go out and then it gets leaked to all these different outlets. And it's like, well, now WWE thinks that they took too long to do the Sasha Bailey split and they don't think it's going to be as good now because it's just kind of worn its welcome.
See, I don't think, since they revived it, I don't think this has worn out its welcome. I think it has timed out well. My problem was 3 years ago, it seemed like they were building towards the WrestleMania match, and they're like, I think Vince made the call of like, this doesn't feel big enough to be a WrestleMania match. It's like, what? I think almost everybody else thinks so, just like Vince didn't think Cody versus Goldust was WrestleMania worthy, which was absolute horseshit. I mean, it ended up, again, being match of the year for me last year for when they had their match at AEW.
Just like Vince McMahon thought AJ Styles was nothing more than a mid-card guy.
So, I mean, at least Vince admitted he was wrong with that. He admitted that he was wrong with Daniel Bryan. But, you know, overall, he's made some decisions where you're kind of like, but at least now, like, I feel like full circle with the Sasha Bailey storyline, it would have sucked if we didn't get resolution to this because Sasha left. But, you know, we're going to get it now. But, you know, my hope would have been, you know, maybe it'll end up at Survivor Series, or maybe they're going to, I prefer if they wait until like a big show like the Royal Rumble to kind of have the blow off for this feud. But I mean, this feud, if you want to get technical, has been going on for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. They had some of the most iconic matches down in NXT.
Oh, yeah.
The Women's Championship down there.
The Iron Woman match, the match for the title at TakeOver.
That was Brooklyn, right?
I think it was.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so we know eventually when they have this match, it's going to be a good match, but they're going to be flip-flopping who's the heel and who's the face here. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so I'm looking forward to see what they do going forward with this storyline. Now, one storyline that now has a couple of kinks in it that are like, Mandy Rose got traded to Raw.
It was announced on Smack or Smack Talk, whatever it is, after SmackDown last night. The Miz announced, for whatever reason, the Miz made the announcement that Mandy Rose has been traded to Monday Night Raw. Now, does this mean that she's going to get traded to Raw and then somebody else is going to end up on SmackDown? Who's going to end up being the one? Because I know this is how it's always going to work out. You got all these people out there that are trying to figure out who's doing what and where and all this stuff. Kind of like when AJ Styles got traded from Raw to SmackDown. And the big thing was they were like, oh, well, who's going to be the one that's going to get traded from SmackDown to Raw? And it was Mustafa Ali and Dolph Ziggler who both got traded to Raw in exchange for AJ Styles, which I still think that SmackDown made out in that trade. I know a lot of people are like speculating who it's going to be. I know that one person that I've actually thrown out before the show, and I kind of had a minor tism over because she's not worth Mandy Rose, is Billie Kay, because they just split up the Iconics last week. They had their match this week on Raw where Peyton Royce went over. I know Vince McMahon is really high on Peyton Royce. I think that she's one of those ones that she can benefit no matter what show she's on. She's that talented. And I keep going back to when you and I went to that NXT house show at ODU where she had the match against Asuka, and she held her own against Asuka. Peyton Royce is a really good in-ring performer. I think she has a chance to be a star in the WWE in the women's division if they book her properly. I mean, how many times have I fucking said that over the years?
Oh. You just got Omega by effing Mark's Hall of Famer, Don't Eat Braun Snow. Since you bring up Omega, at All Out, we did have FTR defeat Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and for me, one of the more interesting storylines that has been told in recent memory, where it almost seems like everybody is like this super gray character, where like they kind of get ticked off at each other, but they kind of stay together. But we finally saw the official kind of disbanding of this team, and Omega, instead of doing the typical bust up, where he ended up having like a table. It was almost like one of those small tray table type things. Looked like he was about to wail away on Hangman Page, but what did he do?
He wrestled it instead, right?
He threw it down in disgust and walked away. Young Bucks were kind of with him, and he just yells, "You know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done," and just left the arena.
Fuck Kenny Omega.
But I like the fact that, it wasn't your traditional heel turn where, he busts, Hangman Page over the head with this table and just goes bonkers. He just, all right, I'm done. The fact that he just told the Young Bucks, hey, I'm done with you guys too. I like the fact that it wasn't your traditional storyline. The fact that Hangman Page, who looked like he was going to be the heel in this whole thing, when they did the interview with him on Dynamite with Tony Schiavone, he sounds like a broken man who still wants to hang out with his friends and felt sorry for, I'm the reason why the Young Bucks didn't, win the world title, and I did this and I did that, and I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have done these things. Then you got Kenny Omega, who's like at the end, Page kind of sounded like, I'd like to still team with Kenny because there was some magic with us. And Omega, when he interviewed with Jim Ross, was like, yeah, I'm going as a singles. And I'm going to just Omega. And Young Bucks, with their thing, where they were trying to get their take on what happened this weekend, they ended up super kicking the interviewer. So I like how everything is being told here. Again, nobody seems to be really a good guy or a bad guy. They're just the guy. They're just guys who are kind of in this complicated. This might be the most complex storyline where you're like, I could kind of see where this person's coming. I could kind of see where this person's coming from.
I cannot fucking wait. I can hardly contain my excitement over the fact that Kenny Omega is going to make a singles run. And he's going to start cutting promos with his fucking doofus fucking face. And the fact that he can't cut a fucking promo, but let's still consider him God. Thank you, Dave Meltzer, you fucking piece of shit. That the best wrestler in the world is ranked 13th in PWI.
Yeah.
He's a fucking fraud. Kenny Omega is a fucking fraud. Kenny Omega is a fucking fraud.
What?
He's not even the best wrestler from the area he's from. He's not. Hangman Page is the best wrestler from his town in the history of his town. Granted, there's been 6,000 people that have lived in his town in the entire existence of wherever he's from in Virginia, but nevertheless, Hangman Page is still the best wrestler in his town. Kenny Omega, no matter what he does, will never, ever be the best wrestler from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
That goes to the goat of goats, who's goated more than goats have ever goated more than goats have ever goated in the history of goatdom. Kenny Omega is a dirt face who can't cut a fucking promo. Yes, he's really good in the ring, but that's all he is. He's a one-trick pony.
All right. So
since we're talking about
FTR ended up, winning the championships.
Congratulations to them. They are now the first ever tag team to have won the NXT tag team titles, the Raw tag team titles, the SmackDown tag team titles, and the AEW tag team titles. Which means the last thing they need to do now is go win those the IWGP tag team titles in Japan, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did that in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah. Speaking of Chris Jericho, he and Orange Cassidy had a Mimosa Mayhem match where they had this giant vat of mimosa next to ringside, and you could either pin, submit the person, or you could
toss them in a vat of mimosas.
And when you get a giant vat of mimosa, guess what? Somebody is going to end up in said giant vat of mimosa. I thought these guys put on a heck of an entertaining match, and Jericho is about being a star maker at this point. So the fact that Jericho put over Orange Cassidy. Fucking great. I loved it. I enjoyed this one.
I hope they do something with Orange Cassidy now. It's one thing for have him go up against the GOAT the way he did, but I think that they need to do something with Orange Cassidy. I know that I've said it before on the podcast. I've said it outside of the podcast, and I'll keep saying it. The night he wins that fucking title is going to be the biggest night in AEW history. Him winning the title is going to be like when Mick Foley won the WWF Championship the first time.
As long as there are a bunch of fans. I do appreciate the fact that they do have some fans in attendance now, which is great.
And they actually, I just see it earlier before the podcast, that they actually have gone to Ticketmaster and put tickets on sale. In fact, you can actually get your own little pod of 4 to 6 people.
Yep. Yeah. So,
could you imagine sharing a pod at a wrestling show with Jesse?
It would be great. It would be like that time when we got the
Iconics
tickets in
together?
the class.
Wait, the Iconics aren't together anymore?
So, so that I enjoyed that match. Then we had Dark Order going against Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, Dustin Rhodes, and QT Marshall.
Probably the biggest surprise for us, because we both took the Dark Order to win this match, was the fact that the Nightmare Cometh team actually was victorious, and I believe Dustin actually got the victory for them too.
I believe you're correct. My brain sometimes short circuits with specifics of this. So, but this was this was a very solid match, and did actually end up kind of setting up what ended up happening on Wednesday with the TNT title match, which main evented the show, which ended up being the natural Dustin Rhodes going against
Brody
Lee. Yeah, I always want to call him Luke Harper.
Luke Harper.
Yeah.
By the way, I saw this morning, it was like homeless man finds job and becomes a successful businessman. And it's a picture of Luke Harper going to Brody Lee, and I'm like, you guys, I love you.
Yeah.
I know I say what I say about how the internet has ruined professional wrestling, but
it's also enhanced it.
The internet is still undefeated to this day. I fucking love that shit.
The Andy Reid memes.
I can't. I still laugh at like whenever somebody's like, "I'm going to get pretty high." How high are you going to get? And it's a picture of Jeff Hardy from Victory Road 2011, and I'm like, "That's pretty high."
Yeah. All right. So then we had Jurassic Express going against the Bucks of Youth.
Don't care.
It was a good match.
I'm shocked that the Bucks of Youth went over.
Why are you angry at them?
I just think that they talk too much. They really do. Like, they talk to them, we're the greatest tag team. Well, you're not the fucking greatest tag team of all time. The greatest tag team of all time wore shoulder pads to the ring. The second greatest tag team of all time, which is not you, were from Dudleyville, and their father was a guy who just had sex with random women and just had his offspring become professional wrestlers.
Yeah?
And hell, the third greatest tag team of all time used to ask you if you can dig it. Sucker!
Yeah.
They're not even in my top 5 all time. And I'm just tired of the Young Bucks. Just like I'm just tired of Kenny Omega. It's because the internet trolls are the ones that are going out there saying, "Hey, these guys are great because they're great." And it's like,
so you just don't like them because internet people like them. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
I don't like the Young Bucks because the Young Bucks talk way too much. I'm just tired of it. I can't stand it. Yes, they are great in-ring performers. I'm not going to take that away from them. But the fact is that they talk themselves up like Triple H talks himself up, okay? They're in that kind of territory. And I'm just tired of it. That, and I'm just tired of looking at Kenny Omega's doofus face. I have to see a doofus face every morning when I wake up and look in the fucking mirror before I take a shower. Every single day.
Yeah.
I don't need to see a fucking doofus face on my TV screen, too, claiming that he's the best wrestler in the universe.
Yeah.
Because he wrestled a blow-up doll and a 9-year-old Chinese girl.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, I'm surprised that the Young Bucks won.
Then we had Dr. Britt Baker going against Big Swole in a tooth and nail match.
Now, this is a very interesting match.
One thing I'm going to say about this is sometimes when you watch matches like this, kind of the initial reaction would kind of be like, there's a lot of stupid stuff going on with this stuff. But I find matches like this, as they age, you're like, yeah, that was stupid, but funny as all hell. The fact that they had like the drill and the fact that they used like the Novocaine needle and the fact that they used laughing gas and like, you know, taking her diploma and smashing it over, you know, her head, all that stupid little stuff. I'm like going, you know what? I enjoyed the hell out of this match for what it was, and I was pleasantly surprised the Big Swole went over.
I was too, but I was, like I said, I want to be entertained one way or the other, whether it's a really good match going back and forth, like if it was Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, or if it's something like the Firefly Funhouse from WrestleMania, where I was thoroughly entertained, even though it wasn't really technically a wrestling match. That was not technically a wrestling match, but I was thoroughly entertained by Britt Baker and Big Swole. So I applaud the two ladies for entertaining the fans this past weekend.
Yeah. That is true, Don't Eat Brown Snow. He said that you turn into Jim Cornette when you talk Omega.
Have you seen the Cornette meme?
I think I saw a meme about...
There's one where he's in hell, and it's like, welcome to hell. We have this extensive video library of all the wrestling tapes of all time. And Cornette goes, wait a minute. Or no, welcome to heaven, because we have this extensive thing of all these freaking great matches over the years of professional wrestling. And he goes, wait a minute. They're all Omega matches. And it's like, psych. And it's actually Satan. He's in hell. That is hell, watching nothing but Kenny Omega matches while Susan Waldman is screaming at the top of her lungs.
Oh, my God. But I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with like Big Swole and Britt Baker going forward. Like my reasoning for thinking Britt Baker was going to win, I think they see like bringing her up the ladder more quickly than they do with Big Swole. And I figured with Hikaru Shida, spoiler alert, she won her match. In my view, match of the night.
It was a match of the night. Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is God, though.
Yeah, and the fact that they actually talked up her being the NWA Women's Champion, it's like, I don't know if this means, you know, there's an agreement with them in NWA, or if NWA is going to be going bye-bye. So they're like, all right, it's not competition.
The big
so
thing
that's
is
fine.
that there's at least 4 former NWA wrestlers who have worked in AEW. Since the whole thing, and I say that the reason that NWA will not come back is because of Dave Lagana, because that's what fucked it up. But they brought over Eddie Kingston, who was working for NWA. They brought over Ricky Starks, who was in NWA. They brought over Colt Cabana, who was in NWA. And now Thunder Rosa, who is the NWA Women's Champion, also just fought for the AEW Championship. We don't know if she's actually going to sign with AEW or what, but it seems like a lot of these people with NWA, who knows what's going to happen. It's only going to be a matter of time before Damian Sandow makes an appearance on AEW. But like Wade Barrett was, working for NWA as an announcer, and now he's back. Stu Bennett, you're right. Now he's back in NXT as an announcer, as Wade Barrett. Would not be surprised if this led to him coming back to an in-ring role, because he said, if the story is right, I'm going to come back.
And he sounded like he didn't like the taste in his mouth at the end of his WWE run. And I think he wants to have more of the in-ring send-off that he would like, in the fact that they are doing, at least right now, the less crazy travel schedule. That was one thing he specifically talked about not being a fan of. Maybe he'll be more open to being a wrestler again. Right. So.
What the hell did Cornette called?
All right, so
I have to look at that.
Donnie Brown Snow, I wish AEW could sign Thunder Rosa long-term. NWA is coming back doing weekly pay-per-view like TNA did when it started. I do remember, I think, Billy Corrigan coming out and saying that, but apparently they at least have some sort of gentleman's agreement with
NWA.
Yeah. So, all right. Then we had Matt Hardy against Sammy Guevara, and we kind of got into this a little bit before. You know me, I kind of like the matches that look like a slobber knocker bar fight type thing, and that's what this was here. But the part on the scissor lift where they were supposed to land through the tables, like, that's just dangerous idea. And Matt Hardy ends up, Tony Khan came out and said doctors said that Matt Hardy didn't have a concussion. I'm sorry. Seeing him loopy like that, he had a concussion. You're not going to tell me otherwise. Like the tests they come up with, like on, oh, well, this is the base level of what this person's cognitive ability is. It's like, Matt Hardy had a damn concussion, just admit it. And you continued the match, and it was not a good idea.
Do you think one of the questions that they asked him during the concussion protocol was, can you slam a tornado?
Yes.
Oh, yeah! I can slam a tornado!
So, Matt Hardy, his career in AEW was on the line, so he had to go over if they would have done like a forfeit or what have you. I'm sure they could have creatively, through storytelling, figured out a way to not have him continue this match and not have him be out of the company.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they decided to continue the match. And, you know, one thing that the announcers specifically stated, like, going, yeah, the doctors cleared him to continue. Trying to, like, it was poor decision making. So, yeah, don't eat brown snow. They should have stopped the damn match. But even Jim Ross was saying it on commentary. Like, Matt Hardy's obviously not right. He shouldn't be out here.
It's the reason why the man is a Hall of Famer for us.
So I'm happy that Matt Hardy is going to be okay. He cut a really good promo on Wednesday, and they actually did show his wife in the crowd with his kid, and, you know, because she's awfully vocal, especially like what the dangerous, like when he took the chair to the face. Mm-hmm. Like, can you imagine though, like if you're a wife and you're seeing your husband go through that, like, it's like, no, it's not worth the long-term issues you're going to have, you know, because when he retires from in-ring competition, he's still going to have some of that crap linger.
Oh, yeah.
So
they all do.
So, but Matt Hardy did end up going over, and I think with the end of the match, they did it as, I guess, safely as possible, where Hardy wasn't really taking bumps, he was taking punches, and, you know, that ends up going over, so that was that. Then we had the 21-man Casino Battle Royale,
which we were both wrong on.
So apparently Lance Archer, who they were kind of telegraphing between him and Brian Cage, but I was like, I don't think they're going to go with that. But you know, Lance Archer, despite some of the mistakes I think they've made with him, you know, winning and losing in character-wise, let's see where they go. His match against, spoiler alert, Jon Moxley, who did retain his title. That's going to take place October 14th, so we have like over a month for them to build up Archer a little bit more.
And I will say this, that the two of them actually wrestled for, I believe, the United States Championship in New Japan. That's who Jon Moxley won the United States, the IWGP United States Championship from, was Lance Archer.
Right.
So they actually have history with each other because they've actually worked together in Japan. It's going to be interesting to see how they actually translate that here in AEW. I can see them having a slugfest for the title.
Sure. So, yeah, don't eat brown snow. That's who Brainless One and I actually picked. We want Eddie Kingston to win just because we're like,
it's Eddie Kingston, man.
So, but also in this match, we did have a debut. We had Matt Sydal, a.k.a. Evan Bourne, who almost killed himself.
Evan Bourne, who did his best impression of the Shockmaster getting into the ring. Oh, man, you only have one chance to make a first impression. That's what he did. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sorry. sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry.
After the spot where he almost killed himself, he did look good in the ring after that, and he was one of the final few in this battle royal.
It's a good thing you didn't go, Sting. Oh, wait.
I like that.
Like the Black
I like that. Can we call him Splat?
Matt Splat Seidel.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Matt Seidel pulled a Lesnar shooting star press, although Lesnar almost broke his neck against the man who had won a Olympic gold medal with a broken foot.
Oh, am I going to hell or what? I'm going there, right? I'm
may
like
or may not.
first class ticket. I'm the first one on. They're like, welcome aboard, Mr. Guy. We've been waiting for you. Yeah, I kind of figured.
All right, so maybe this is something I should do. What we need is a side-by-side video with Matt Seidel screwing up and Brock Lesnar screwing up to see who wins. Who wins the worst shooting star press of all time. That could be fun. All right, Christopher Brown saying something about Lance Archer. His contract may be finishing up soon with AEW. I honestly don't know. Because that would mean he signed like a 6-month contract instead of something long-term. And he's saying WWE would have some interest. Where would WWE put him? Where would he fit into this whole mix? And I know, like, back 6 months ago, it was like, did they want Karrion Kross or did they want Lance Archer? Now the fact that Vince McMahon likes competition, maybe he's now willing to pay for Lance Archer's services and put him on NXT. But I don't know. I guess we'll see with that. But to me, it would be silly to hot potato yourself. You're trying to build some sort of credibility. And if he saw that AEW was not going to be around for a while, not going to give him, a decent offer, then be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to WWE. But I don't know. I just feel that he's going to stay where he is.
Or he's going to Japan.
So
if he's gonna leave AEW.
Yeah. Donnie Brown Snow thinks that it's worse that Seidel botched the move because he's been doing it forever.
Yep.
The only thing I'll say for that is there were 21 people in that battle royal. I'm going to guess somebody was sweating on the ropes at some point or sweating on the turnbuckle, so I'm going to guess he slipped, and it was because of that.
And then he went splat.
He did go splat. Splat Seidel.
Splat Seidel.
So. Yeah, so that was that. And again, we touched on this. Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa put on a hell of a match of the night. They gave them plenty of time. They told a great story, but Hikaru Shida ends up going over, and we found out that they teased who she will be facing next on Wednesday. And I know you're not excited about it. So, and the last time those two went against each other, Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida, they put on a hell of a match.
Yeah, I would sure hope so because Nyla Rose is a dude.
Right. But kudos to these two women for the brutality and great story that they told. Love it. And then we had in the main event Jon Moxley versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF.
Solid match between the two of them. They definitely put it all out there. Kudos to both of them. Like I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, MJF is definitely the future of professional wrestling. He's going to be the biggest star in the next 2-3 years. And he went out there and he performed like he was going to be in that situation. Moxley did go over. I thought that was very surprising.
He slightly nefarious tactics because he was not supposed to use the paradigm shift in the match. Wardlow distracting the ref. And Moxley used that to his advantage to give the paradigm shift and get the pin. But overall, yeah, they put on a really good match. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And it led to one of my favorite things on Wednesday, which was when Friedman fired all of his staff, had words with Wardlow, and that could be leading to the breakup of the two of them, or just the beginning of some tension with them, and maybe they come back together. But I thought it led to some interesting stuff with that, and MJF ended up he and the GOAT, who's goated more than I don't know your whole thing.
The GOAT of goats, who was goated more than goats have ever goated in the history of goat. God damn, I'm gonna make like a T-shirt or something.
So basically, the two of them talked to each other after they both lost, and more or less both of them just kind of talking about how they're ready, like, Le Champion, you're going to win the championship again. And Jericho's like talking like, and you're going to be a future champion and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, they like do an elbow bump and so on and so forth. And it was a fun little segment that they had on Dynamite. And
it was a Dynamite segment, Monty.
Yeah. So that was that, and a lot of that stuff ended up kind of leading into Dynamite. We ended up having like Lucha Brothers against Jurassic Express, and so Lucha Brothers are at this point, they have a lot of tension at the end. Basically, miscommunication and stuff that went on where Jurassic Express ends up going over, and like Eddie Kingston had to be the voice of reason with the Lucha Brothers, talking about, hey man, you're like my best friend. I don't want to see the two of you guys going at it. And they talked it out, and they're still bros, literally.
For now.
But yeah, that'll be coming to an end at some point soon. But I like how they're integrating the different people into this storyline and using their past history with this. So, but Jurassic Express, a badly needed win, because they seem to have the good matches but lose a lot. So Jeff Hardy cuts his promo about the outpouring of support and kind of like feeling sorry for what he put his wife through, but talking about how much he still loves the wrestling industry and how that's why he likes to still go out there and put his body on the line for the fans. Really solid promo where it was Matt Hardy talking. So
the one that slams a tornado?
Sure.
Oh boy. No,
it wasn't that one. It was just Matt Hardy.
Business is about to pick up.
Yeah. So, all right. Then we had the GOAT, Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed off his victory against Chris Jericho, going against Angelico. And more or less, this was almost like a squash match. And at the end of this, he got beaten down by Santana and Ortiz, which again, integrating multiple storylines into one. Best friends come out, and they've been having a thing with Santana and Ortiz for a while. And this is leading to another match with Santana and Ortiz versus the best friends. And best friends, showing a bit of an edge here, where they're like, we're not going to come out and hug anymore. We're going to come out and kick your ass. So we're going to get that match, I think, this week on Dynamite. So every time these guys are in the ring, they put on a heck of a show. Yeah. We already talked about the Hangman Page interview. One thing that did happen that I think is pretty interesting is Jake Hager and Chris Jericho. They had a tag match, and and they went against Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. It was a no DQ, no count out match. entertaining as heck, but at the end, Chris Jericho, his Sunny Kiss was about to try to finish off Jake Hager, had a fire extinguisher, blinded Sunny Kiss, and ended up finishing off Sunny Kiss for the victory. At the end, though, cut a promo saying, hey, we're gunning for the tag team titles. So I think it's interesting that Chris Jericho is doing this with Jake Hager. Seeing that Santana and Ortiz are already within their group, and but Le Champion, he's the leader of the faction, so he could do what the hell he wants. But so I'm looking forward to seeing this as it progresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Anything that Chris Jericho does, I'm always excited for.
All right, so Chris Brown saying he believes that we're going to see MJF versus Jericho in the coming weeks. What's up, Gags the Clown? He called us two punk ladies.
Punk ladies?
Whatever. Go drink your stout.
I was trying to find a way to saying the time with there was an episode of The Simpsons where Ned Flanders finally snaps and he goes to Mo and he goes, "You're an ugly, hateful man." And Mo goes, "I may be ugly and hateful, but I'm not a..." What was that third one again?
Yeah. So we had John Moxley cutting a promo against Lance Archer. And again, that match is going to be taking place October 14th. But Moxley talking about, hey, I've faced kind of the biggest and baddest of AEW. I've beaten them all, and I'm going to take you out too, Archer. So not too bad. Not too bad of a promo. And then after that, they had FTR come to the ring and surrounded the ring by basically every tag team. And they talked about how great the tag team division is in AEW.
Which it is.
And all these great teams, but then every team around the ring, they're like, yeah, you guys are great. And then they would do backhanded compliments or just straight up insults with all of them. I loved everything about this segment. It was pitch perfect in my view.
Yeah.
And in the end, after they cut down Jurassic Express.
Oh.
I was combining three different teams.
I know, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Be an impressive team too, by the way.
Yeah. So
unless the Lucha House Party's part of it.
So at the end, Marco Stunt actually took this cooler of ice and dumped it on FTR. So I think after I think Young Bucks might have the next title shot, but I think after that we're going to see Jurassic Express going against FTR in the not so distant future. So
one thing that did actually happen on AEW this week was what the hell is his name? I'm having a brain fart. Kip Sabian was in the ring with the beautiful Penelope Ford, and they were cutting a promo and got introduced to the newest member of the AEW family, Miro, aka Rusev. And I love the fact that there was a Rusev Day chant.
Well, then they changed it to Miro Day, and he's like, "Oh, I like the sound of that." So,
and he basically said that I am Miro, and I am here, and I am all elite. And then he threw a shot at WWE, which seems to be the theme around here once you don't work at WWE anymore. And he said to take your brass rings and shove it up your ass.
Well, it's true. I mean, when he's done interviews lately, he talked about how Vince McMahon thought the Rusev Day chants were people mocking him and making fun of him. It's like going, Vince, are you listening to the same damn people we are? It sounds like some bullshit that you're trying to come up with to not push this man. So,
And the fact that he was like, Vince, he's like, we sold out all the merchandise at the stand. Oh, that's because we didn't make that much of it. Then make more. You're still
wait. The thing that's so bullshit about that, we didn't make enough of it. How many months was Rusev Day the top selling merchandise? Don't tell me you didn't.
I got a shirt.
You can't tell me they didn't make a bunch of the merchandise, because guess what? They did.
Yep.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be the top seller.
Yep.
By the way, Galaxy Khan says, I still want to bang Ava Marie so bad. Love the red hair. I can't wait until her and Nia Jax are a tag team.
Which, by the way, is because on SmackDown they've been teasing a new woman on the SmackDown roster who's kind of more of like a glamorous type of thing. Last week they showed her walking in heels. This week they showed a little bit more of the total body and everything. It's Carmella.
Ella?
Yeah, I've never been more confident of anything in my life. It's Carmella.
All right.
She's been talking about how she's making more tan. This woman is very tan, very blonde. It's Carmella.
Okay.
Shocking. But 2 in the pink and 1 in the stink. Let's go the shocker.
All right, so then we had the natural Dustin Rhodes going against Brody Lee for the TNT title. These two guys had a really good match. And okay, Prince Valium. Sorry. Yeah. So these guys told a heck of a story in the ring. Brody Lee coming out on top, though, but Dustin coming out to try to avenge his brother for the beatdown that he got a couple weeks ago, and losing the title. I really like this match. Dustin can still go. He knows what the hell he's doing to tell a story in the ring. I loved it. So
yeah, the dog just flopped.
Tim's saying it could be Peyton Royce, although I guess it's possible, but I think Vince might want her on Raw. So
yeah. I said yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to say anything about the match?
Dustin, like I've been saying since the beginning, Dustin Rhodes is doing things at 50 that I wish I could do half as good as he does at the age of 50. I'm not even in my 40s yet, and I can't even do half the shit that a lot of these people could do. Dustin Rhodes has been one of those guys who's been a constant professional. He's been going out there and performing the way he has, and when it's all said and done, we're going to talk about him as maybe being one of the more overlooked wrestlers in the history of the industry. Because he was a great worker when he was in WCW, when he was the natural Dustin Rhodes, and then he took a fucking gimmick like Gold Dust and turned it into gold.
Yeah,
he had his issues with demons in the past and everything, and he got over that. And it's like the dude it's just a great worker, and he's one of those guys that I'm always going to look at as like he should have won the world title because he deserved it, and he would have earned it if he won the title, but it is what it is.
All right, Gags DeClon has a very important question for you.
Oh, this ought to be interesting.
How bad does the brainless one want to see a porno involving Nia Jax and the Big Show?
I would rather watch LeBron James and Dwight Howard win the NBA title in Orlando as a Magic fan than see that porno. I would rather watch the Yankees win their 28th World Series championship than see that porno. I would rather watch that. Okay, maybe I won't go that far. There's only 2 things in this world that I would hate more than to watch that porno. And it would be the Cowboys winning another Super Bowl and Joe Biden winning in November. Those are the only 2 things that would be worse than watching Nia Jax and the Big Show getting it on in a porno.
Yeah.
I would rather be a salon or owner in California and have Nancy Pelosi walk in than see that porno. I would rather be the person that told Vince McMahon, no, that idea is stupid.
All right.
So there's my answer to that.
All right, Chris Brown. What is your issue with Cody Rhodes? I may have a slightly similar one, but have at it, man.
It's a fucking tattoo, man.
Well, beside the tattoo, like, he's supposed to be out there selling an injury, and he had a big announcement like right after Dynamite this week, and he's going to be part of a talent show. But if he's supposed to be out injured, maybe he shouldn't.
But hold on a second. How is that any different than when a wrestler gets their ass kicked by a wrestler and is out of commission for a while, and it's like, hey, look, there's John Cena. We just saw him get his ass kicked by like 27 dudes, but here he is in the freaking Fast and the Furious 37. We should have stopped 31 Fast and Furiouses ago. Or when Chris Jericho would get his ass kicked and thrown in a freaking garbage truck, and then, oh look, he's on tour with Fozzy. But wait a minute, I thought Chris Jericho just got his ass kicked and he got punted in the skull.
But wait. Specifically, they kept on promoting this the whole time during Dynamite. Cody Rhodes has a big announcement. If he's not on the show, why are you promoting him doing this other thing? With John Cena going off and doing a movie, they don't sit there and promote it on WWE that, John Cena is going to be doing a movie. They specifically on Dynamite promoted that that Cody Rhodes was going to be there saying something. So I think that's where it's completely different.
He basically ended Ted DiBiase Jr.'s career at a house show in Winnipeg. During a one-on-one match, he grabbed Ted's wrist and slammed it against the steel steps repeatedly. I can't recall Ted ever wrestling a match in WWE ever again after that. Interesting. And I was basically talking about Goldust. I wasn't even talking about Cody.
See, what I always thought I remembered them saying with DiBiase Jr. that, like, he decided he didn't want to be on the road anymore because he had a young family and he wanted to stick around. I don't know if that was just a story, but that's what I remember hearing. But yeah, when people get injured and their career ends because of that, it sucks. I mean, I know Bret Hart still has some animosity towards Goldberg because of what happened to him. He kind of said, look, Bill's a nice dude, but he just wasn't good in the ring, and he's like, I'm not the only person he injured, and he ended my career.
And Steve Austin has said the same thing about Owen Hart. Like, everybody talks about how wonderful of a person Owen Hart was, and how he used to bust people's stones and everything like that and do these pranks on them. But Steve Austin has never forgave Owen Hart for injuring his neck, and not even the fact that he injured his neck, but the fact that Owen didn't even have the decency to apologize to him for basically the neck injury that caused his career to get shortened. So Austin always talks about that. And it's like, it's understandable. I don't have any issues with that. I can understand, especially I can understand where Brett's coming from. I can especially understand where Austin's coming from. And it's like, Tyson Kidd doesn't come out there and like say, I will never forgive Samoa Joe for ending my career and all that stuff.
And I mean, what they're doing is not ballet, but, people will get injured, and it could be a simple mistake. I mean, you don't hear too much though about Cody being sloppy, but I don't know if Ted DiBiase Jr. was going to be much of anything. As much as he could go in the ring, I don't think he had the personality to do anything.
Especially he didn't have his dad's personality, and his dad had one of the greatest personalities of all time.
So, yeah, that was that. So, yeah, and we have covered almost nothing on WWE's side.
One thing I do want to talk about with WWE really quickly, and that's really all we need to talk about with NXT, because everything else on NXT was just kind of bad. But we do have a new NXT World Heavyweight Champion, as we finally got the payoff of the Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match, which was to determine the championship last week, and then this week they had the one-on-one match between Finn Balor and Adam Cole, baby! And to really no surprise to a lot of people, Finn Balor went over on Adam Cole and is now the new NXT champion. I'm on board with this. I really am. I mean, this is something that they should have done anyway. Finn Balor is just an incredible talent. He's one of the greatest NXT performers of all time. Putting the title on him was a smart move. I love the fact that they did the too sweet after the match, and they both basically said that they respected each other as in-ring performers and everything. So I enjoyed that. Finn Balor and Cole had a wonderful match on Tuesday, not Wednesday. And so there you go. We have a new NXT World Champion, and it is Finn Balor.
He was my pick when they announced the Fatal 4-Way because, I mean, to me, there were two outcomes, Adam Cole or Finn Balor. I didn't think the other dudes, nothing to disrespect about Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa. I was like, you know what, Finn Balor and Adam Cole seem like they're at a higher level at this moment. So that's why I thought one of the two of them were going to win the title. But, you know, they put on a heck of a match. You know, they had the thing where Adam Cole was like working over the leg trying to take away the coup de grace, but Balor ends up kind of overcoming that. And, you know, the end of the match after coup de grace didn't work, he did the 1916 from the top rope to secure the victory and get the title. I really dug this match, and this was not the main event. This was actually the curtain jerker.
The first match of the night.
But I enjoyed the heck out of the main event too. What was
Mercedes Martinez?
But they like called it like the battle of the two badass women in a steel cage match between Mercedes Martinez
and Rhea Ripley.
Yep.
And Rhea Ripley did go over on Mercedes Martinez in the match. And for whatever reason, Mercedes Martinez is now out of the Robert Stone brand. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Do they even know what the fuck they're doing with that?
So there are a lot of things with the Robert Stone brand here where I think with Mercedes Martinez, well, like Robert Stone tried getting involved in this match and, you know, it didn't end well for him. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, he was going to put his hopes on her to get the brand going. But what Robert Stone did here on this show was he set up Shotzi Blackheart to do some shit. And now Shotzi Blackheart has a shot against Io Shirai this coming week for the NXT Women's Championship.
Should be a fun match.
Yeah, it's going to be great. All right, so Gags and Con, two people I have been never been impressed with is Finn Balor and Shinsuke. Okay. You know what? For me, I enjoy Shinsuke, but I have never been like blown away by any of his matches here. Finn Balor, I've had plenty of matches where I feel he's delivered. I do love the Demon, and he could get better at talking, but you know.
Hurt Business. I mean, that's just a no-brainer question. The Robert Stone brand versus the Hurt Business.
Right.
I mean, it's basically Robert Stone and Aaliyah. Aaliyah couldn't beat a fucking 6-year-old in a wrestling match.
Right.
And Robert Stone, who's just a jabroni.
Yeah. Breezanga this coming week are going to have a rematch with Imperium. Breezanga, who won the titles from Imperium just a couple weeks or last week. So Imperium getting the rematch. But I dug the promo that they cut talking about like Imperium didn't take him seriously. All right, we got the titles. You're getting your rematch. Let's see it. So
I'm gonna laugh when Imperium wins the titles back too.
Yeah. And then Timothy Thatcher is going against Damian Priest this Wednesday coming up for the North American title.
I'm on board with that match.
So, and we did have Velveteen Dream in essentially a squash match against, I think his name's Ashanti Adonis. But at the end, I think it was Kushida who came and destroyed him and tried to take his arm out of the socket.
Exact his revenge from when Dream attacked Kushida a couple weeks ago.
So,
and I know Velveteen Dream is basically like flaunting the fact that he just doesn't give a shit about the fire of Velveteen movement that's been trying to go through like the wrestling fans and everything. So he kind of like mocked them and everything, and I thought that was interesting.
So, all right, Bronson Reed going over on Austin Theory. We talked about the Theory issue where it's like, he was out with the
allegations of sexual misconduct.
So, apparently, again, WWE kind of did their thing, and they decided to put him back to NXT. I still believe this is setting up Bronson Reed to be a North American title challenger soon.
I can see that.
So, Roderick Strong went against Killian Dane, and this was in a no-holds. No, this one was not no-holds barred, but Bobby Fish was there to support Roderick Strong and got himself heavily involved in this match, and was basically Roderick Strong won because of the help. Okay, Prince Valiant.
I had to do it that time like that. Okay. Ended on purpose.
But Roderick Strong ends up going over, and then after the match, Strong and Fish end up beating down Killian Dane, and strangely enough, Drake Maverick came down to actually help Killian Dane with a steel pipe. He fights off Undisputed Era. Undisputed Era starts getting over on him, and then Killian Dane chases them off. And then I'm thinking to myself, all right, are these guys going to become a tag team? Killian Dane then destroyed Drake Maverick. So I thought a few interesting things as far as storytelling going on with that. But so yeah, there was that, and we had Tegan Knox with the Garganos, a night with the Garganos, like they were having some sort of dinner, and they're trying to convince Tegan Knox to come to their side, and in the end, Tegan ends up like dumping food and what have you over both of them and ran out of the house. So, interesting way to tell a story that's not, just specifically wrestling.
Right.
So that was NXT for this week.
So we breezed through Raw and SmackDown. I mean, we did touch base on a bit on SmackDown anyway. So
one thing we'll do, Hurt Business got a new member.
I love it. I fucking love it. Cedric Alexander turned on Ricochet and is now part of the Hurt Business. I am 100% on board with this. This means they're actually going to do something with Cedric Alexander, even though it seemed like Vince didn't want to do anything with Cedric Alexander.
Yeah.
I would love to see Ricochet join the Hurt Business too. I think that would be great for both of their careers. If they got to work with, established veterans like MVP and Cedric, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, I fucking love it. The Hurt Business is now my new favorite faction in all professional wrestling. I enjoy it. I mean, MVP he's gold. The man is gold. Shelton Benjamin still goes. Bobby Lashley, I love heel Bobby Lashley. It's entertaining. It's something different. It's something that I can definitely get on board with. And them adding Cedric Alexander is a wonderful addition to them, and I think it's going to be great for Cedric Alexander's career.
So after the turn with Cedric Alexander, and Hurt Business ended up beating Cruz, Ricochet, and Alexander, Hurt Business had another match where it was Viking Raiders and Apollo Crews, and Hurt Business won over again with this. I love the fact that they're pushing them strong and making them look like badasses instead of like, chicken shit heel type stuff.
And I guess that Ivar took a really nasty bump himself. He did that thing where he dives through the ropes and everything.
Yeah.
He took a really bad bump
immediately.
And the X and everything. And
that was no joke. His leg got effed up.
And they were saying that at first it didn't seem like it was going to be serious, but now they're talking that it might be surgery that he's going to need for the nasty injury that he had on Monday. So hopefully it all works out in the end, and everything works out for him.
All right, Chris Brown asking, what faces do you put up against them is the question. And I think at this point, it's kind of like you have to put people in solo matches against Lashley, and Lashley should not use the advantage of having those guys to win matches. Lashley should be going out and dominating against anybody he goes against. I think other than that,
the one that I would like to see happen if they are going to keep the 4 is if somehow Apollo Crews can recruit like the New Day to come over to Monday Night Raw, and then we have the Hurt Business versus the New Day and Apollo Crews, which I think would work pretty well in a situation like that. You could also, geez Louise, I don't even know. That's the only one I can think of.
Well, I mean, now Retribution is heels, so that wouldn't quite work storytelling wise.
Although, I mean, back in the day when they actually had the Shield and the Wyatt family, they were both heel factions, and to this day, it was still one of the more entertaining rivalries because they were the 2 most dominant factions in all.
Well, and they were established.
Yeah.
Retribution isn't really established
yet.
And Hurt Business is getting there.
Yeah.
There's something out there for the Hurt Business. Honestly, after everything kind of finally finishes out with the Mysterio family storyline, maybe it could be Ray and Dominic going against Hurt Business.
Yeah.
Because I know he and MVP have a lot of respect for each other. And speaking of the Mysterios, we did have Dominic going against Murphy, and Dominic had one of the most incredible spots I've ever seen, and kudos for Murphy for pulling it off and selling the hell out of it. But, Dominic using, the old man's, head first baseball slide, but he did that into a sunset flip power bomb into a damn table. It was fucking awesome.
The kid is fucking impressive. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching Dominic. He still needs a mask.
Oh, yeah. So Chris Brown saying initial diagnosis is possibly a spinal contusion for Ivar. That could be career ending. I mean, the dude on the Steelers a couple of years ago, spinal contusion, and
Ryan,
he can walk.
He just retired. He literally just retired.
But he was hoping to come back.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway,
so.
Yeah, Mike, I think they had kind of teased that it might have been Ricochet that was going to turn, but, they pulled the trigger on Cedric, and, hopefully this means big things and good things for Cedric Alexander.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind it. Maybe the Hurt Business's next move, they've got the U.S. title, they have a team, and have them go against Street Profits and try to win the tag team gold. And I think they should win tag team gold. Speaking of Street Profits, though, we ended up having Nakamura and Cesaro show up, and they issued a challenge, having the SmackDown tag team champions go against the Raw tag team champions. And I'm looking forward to this match, but I'm a little perplexed because usually they like to save these things for the Survivor Series, which is not that far off.
I was thinking about that last night too when I was watching this, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, so either this means that it means one of two things. Number one, it means that they're not going to do where they do like the tag team champions for Raw versus the tag team champions for SmackDown, Raw Women's title versus SmackDown Women's title, U.S. champion versus Intercontinental. Maybe they go back to the old school Survivor Series thing where it's one team versus another one in all elimination matches, no title matches whatsoever. Or on the other end, it's one of those two teams will not be tag team champions heading into Survivor Series.
I think that's more likely. Yeah.
And my guess is that Cesaro and Shinsuke will not be tag team champions heading into Survivor Series.
Mike, eventually Ricochet will turn, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be soon. That's my opinion. So, yeah.
I give it a month.
Right.
And then he'll turn.
Yeah, Chris, obviously they're trying to jack up ratings a little bit because, their ratings get hurt badly from NFL and having Monday Night Football. Ironically enough, SmackDown did its highest rating in quite some time last night. So
it's going to be funny as shit when Monday Night Raw loses to Monday Night Football and Rob Gronkowski is playing for the Bucs in that game.
Any team could.
I know, but it'd be funny because Gronk is a former 24/7 champion, the longest reigning 24/7 champion.
Right.
So.
All right. So there was that, and that. And obviously the main storyline from Raw is Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Orton cutting a promo on him and talking about how Drew McIntyre had a busted jaw from getting the skull punch. McIntyre drove an ambulance into the arena. I mean, I think he left on an ambulance like the week before, but to have him return in the ambulance was a little wonky to me. It's like, he had a broken jaw. Why does he need to come in an ambulance? I know it. You know, it's a fun little extra bit of presentation. He comes to the ring and, you know, delivers the Claymore kick. But and then later on, after he was kicked out by what's his name, Adam Pearce, who said, you know, you're not cleared for competition. You can't do this. And it's like, all right, if he has a broken jaw, how is he, you know, cutting promos? How is he talking? And but we did get the return of Randall Keith Orton going against Keith Lee, and McIntyre shows up again, and Orton wins the match via DQ. But yeah, he ate a couple of more Claymore kicks, and
he got carted out.
Yeah.
And which is setting up for this Monday on Raw, we will be having Drew McIntyre going up against Keith Lee.
So
Raw is looking like it's going to be pretty stacked because we have the Raw Women's title on the line as Mickie James is going up against Asuka. We're going to have the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, going up against Nakamura and Cesaro. We're also going to have Drew McIntyre go up against Keith Lee. I want to say there was one other match that they were announcing. I think it might be it's Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins again on Raw, because why not have a SummerSlam rematch a few weeks after SummerSlam?
I'm guessing it's because they're going to put Dominic over in this match.
And I think it's in a steel cage, if I'm
I
not
believe
mistaken.
you're correct. I believe you're correct.
I know it's some kind of like funky Cole Medina type of match.
Thanks, Mike. We really appreciate you tuning in, man. He said, just want to say I love listening to you guys.
Thank you, Mike. We do appreciate that.
So, so they're loading up Raw, but so
to go up against the first Monday Night Football game of the season.
Yeah. All right.
We know what the brainless one's gonna be watching on Monday. The fucking Giants are playing the goddamn Steelers.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
All right. So that was mostly Monday Night Raw. So SmackDown, we had Roman Reigns, and as Paul Heyman is referring to him, the Tribal Chief. And he's in the middle of cutting a promo, and out comes his cousin Jey Uso, and you know, more or less, Heyman's alluding to the fact that the whole thing with Big E was like a setup, that they planned to get Jey into this fatal four-way and allow him an opportunity to earn a shot to go against his cousin.
I love the fact that even though Roman Reigns is supposed to be like a super dick, he's like, you know, family is always going to be number one, especially in that family.
Sure.
And he was like, this is something that we've been talking about. He's like, who's for cousins? And we've been doing this for years.
And they showed the old school pictures, which I think added some layers to this.
And I love the fact that they're doing. I love heel Roman so far.
Yeah, so far so good.
It's fucking
with
wonderful.
Heyman. Yeah.
And adding Heyman is just that extra like element to it that nobody would ever have thought of. Yeah. I mean, we talked. I mean, wrestling fans talked about it for years, but.
Well, and when Lesnar was going against Roman a couple of years ago at WrestleMania, there was a little talk of like, oh, Brock might be opting out of staying with WWE. So what if they pull a switch where Heyman helps out Roman Reigns to win the title? But we didn't realize that quite literally, right before WrestleMania, Brock re-signed and, you know, ended up pinning Reigns. And, you know, that was definitely one of those swerves that we got that we didn't see coming, that I'm glad that they could still pull off once in a while. So, all right, Mike is saying he would like to see McIntyre versus Lee at WrestleMania. That's what he would like, but unfortunately, I see them giving Orton the title and having Orton against Edge at next year's WrestleMania.
That wouldn't surprise me. They're also talking about Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar again next year at WrestleMania.
So, yeah. Lots of things like that.
Keith Lee might be one of those people destined for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but actually winning it instead.
Right.
Of just being in it.
So
should be a big win for him too.
After Jey Uso cuts the promo, we had King Corbin come out wondering why this guy randomly gets a title shot. Then we have Sheamus come out.
I'm going to say this about Sheamus. I really wish that he wrestled the way he came out to the ring. Like the fact that he comes out with the pants and the white beater with the coat, and he's got the hat and he's taped up his hands, and then it's like, oh, look, there's wrestling Sheamus. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, wrestle with that outfit on.
Different. Just take the coat and the hat off and just wrestle like that, fella.
Yeah, I like it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but there was one cringeworthy moment in when Jey Uso is speaking down to them, and he referred to both Corbin and Sheamus as butt mud. You know that line specifically is in there to make Vince McMahon laugh. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. Butt mud. That's such good shit. Yeah, I was like, really?
I was like, really?
Really, butt mud. That's what you come up with. Butt mud.
Suffering succotash.
Yeah. So, we did have the Lucha House Party in a non-title match, defeating Nakamura and Cesaro.
Now, hold on a second, Jay. See, you and I differentiate on what happens when a champion loses clean in a non-title match.
This wasn't clean.
This wasn't clean. This was nefarious tactics. The Street
This
Profits
was distraction.
Partying in the freaking area where
the champions
told not to party in, caused a distraction, and Cesaro ate the pinfall.
So, Lucha House Party getting a win.
I think the most disappointing part was the fact that they had the Lucha House Party cut a promo before the match, and Kalisto didn't fuck up and run away like a freaking squirrel.
Sad. So.
And then they partied with the Street Profits afterwards in the VIP area or whatever the hell it is.
It was not the VIP lounge, though.
Correct.
So there was that. We had Jeff Harvey going against AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title here, but right before this match started, we had Sami Zayn going crazy at the people in the production truck. He is not the champion. I am the Intercontinental champion. I won at WrestleMania. I never lost the title. He is a fake champion.
Love Sami Zayn. I do. I fucking love him. I hate his best friend, but I love Sami Zayn.
And coming out of this whole thing, though, we ended up. I mean, we knew that we're going to get a triple threat match at Clash of Champions, and basically Sammy came out and beat the hell out of Jeff Hardy, causing AJ Styles to win the match, but by DQ. So Jeff Harvey is still,
which is funny because champion. On Wrestling Mark's page, because that's where I get a lot of the results when I don't if I fall asleep before the end of the show. They said it ended in a no contest because of the fact that Sami Zayn beat the shit out of both of them. Mm. He hit the haluva kick on Jeff Hardy, and then after the match, Hardy fell down, and it was like he's dehydrated. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was really? Like one of the worst. Yeah. That whole thing felt a little weird.
That was like when, and it always makes me think of it, and I hate the fact that it kind of segues to it, was when John Morrison, when he was still technically Johnny Nitro, beat CM Punk for the ECW title the night that a certain wrestler, who shall remain nameless, was supposed to win that night. And he was like, yeah, I overcame a cold. And I'm like, come on, man.
Right. All right, so Mike chiming in. Why is Baron Corbin still with WWE? He can't wrestle. He can't cut a promo. I think he's improved.
He's actually much better.
He's improved with his promos.
I don't understand the hatred towards Baron Corbin. The guy does what he's supposed to do. He's a fucking heel. He gets heat. People just hate him. I don't understand. Like, that's the reason why. Plus, he's actually one of the safer wrestlers in the ring of anybody. And nobody has yet to kick out of the freaking end of days.
Overall, with Corbin, he's improved. It seems like he has a love for the business now. I think when he originally got in, he just wanted to make some money and get out. But I think he genuinely loves the business. And for someone like him, right now, with the type of heel he is, he really benefits from a crowd being there. The fact that the crowd isn't there definitely does not help
Right.
with his shtick and his gimmick. So I'm okay with Corbin still being there. Like a couple of years ago, like I thought he was going to end up being like the most improved and like take a big leap up, but it took him longer than I thought for him to catch on to things.
Sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
How long did it take for Roman Reigns to finally cut decent promos?
I mean,
He had the presence, but
it took the Miz almost 10 years to actually not be like, because there was
he was a
for the
promo guy.
longest-
He wasn't a wrestler.
For the longest time, like there was a lot of times where I would see the Miz out there. I'm like, oh, the Miz is outmatched. The Miz would not be able to handle himself in any shape or form against, and there would be a laundry list of guys. And now I don't feel that way about the Miz. The Miz has gotten so much better in the ring. Obviously, working with guys like Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose has really improved the Miz as an in-ring performer. I love the Miz, and Baron Corbin's gotten into that point too. So
yeah, he just needs to keep working. He'll get better. As far as breaking up the Lucha House Party, I don't know. I enjoy the fact that like right now they're at least teasing some tension within them. I don't always love the fact that they'll tease tension and immediately break people up. Like with the Bayley and Sasha storyline, they took a long time, in their current build for this storyline. Tease the tension, but don't break them up immediately, because there are so many storylines that they sit there and they'll tease something and they're like so quick to pull the trigger. Like,
yeah.
So the fact that they won tells me that they're not going to break them up. At least, I think it'll be at least a few months before they possibly break them up.
Right.
But I think they're going to have them continue at least for a little while longer. And I'm still, mildly confused about Tozawa's Ninjas, the Lucha House Party, and Retribution. And because Tozawa's Ninjas are the Lucha House Party and a couple other people.
Right.
And Retribution has the same outfits as Tozawa's Ninjas.
Yeah.
And we did finally hear on Monday Night Raw, speaking of Retribution, they did finally speak.
They sound like a distorted Dio Madden and Donovan Dijakovic.
And they could possibly be related to the Black Scorpion.
Yes.
They don't talk the same, but similar. And I did kind of like their promo on how they kind of set all that up for them for the future. One thing as far as their storyline goes with Retribution, they talked about kind of going after every superstar and kind of sucking the soul and getting into the pores of the WWE universe. All right, just a minor question. Why do they attack the production truck then? They're not superstars, but yeah, that's just my minor quibble about, what they said and what they've done so far. So, yeah. Vince does not like tag teams in general because it costs more to put them up in hotels and what have you. But Vince also knows, demographically, Latino folks prefer having Latino wrestlers on their television screen.
Yes.
So I think that's I hate to put it that way, but I think that's part of why Vince keeps them around, because he's got Garza and he's got Andrade and he's got Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. But I think they're trying to build up a larger roster of Latino wrestlers. So I think that's why Lucha House Party is going to continue to be a thing, in part. So.
I agree.
So, all right. We already talked about the daily promo. We talked about House Party. We talked about Nikki winning.
And we talked about
the
Firefly Funhouse.
We did. We did have Otis going over on John Morrison, but Miz ended up stealing the lunchbox that they believed had the Money in the Bank contract in it. But apparently, the Dozer, who everybody seems to think is an idiot, is smarter than we all think because he has a different lunchbox. which the
I
contract is in.
am the dozer of the podcast. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that I'm more brainless than I really am, but I'm actually smarter than the average bear.
Yeah. So, it's weird. Like, I feel a couple of ways. Like, this is perfectly in the wheelhouse of the Otis character. But like the idea of like, all right, Otis at some point might become Universal Champion.
I fucking cannot wait.
And I'm like going, it almost feels like it's a joke. And I'm like, the Universal title shouldn't feel like a joke. But again, it's perfectly within the character. And I guess another thing is I hope this feud with Miz and Morrison ends soon. It's been going on for a while, and I think they've told as much of the story as they can. I don't think it's...
I think my girlfriend's throwing shit at me.
Yeah?
No.
So...
I'm excited because I love the Dozer so much. I'm one of those types, like, give him a fucking chance. Why not? I'm starting to think that because of the fact that they're trying to turn Roman Reigns into this bad motherfucker, and that he's probably going to be holding the title to WrestleMania. My guess is that Dozer's going to try. Either Otis is going to hold it for a very long time, or he's going to try and fail, and that's one way to get Roman Reigns more heat than he already has.
Right. So, yeah, that's that. And Mike, that is a thing we have heard too. Mia Yim being part of Retribution. I am not Mia Yim's biggest fan. Almost every time I see a match with her, she has, she botches a lot. And it's like, there are a lot of people that really loved her from when she was in the Mae Young Classic, and loved her for her work in Impact Wrestling. But like every time I've seen her matches just don't go over well. I think she has a good presence, but I think I hope she does better on the main roster than she did on NXT. But yes, she is one of the ones supposedly in Retribution. So, and for our main event last night, we did have King Corbin and Sheamus go against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Jey Uso basically carried the match for his team because his cousin decided, similar to when he won the Universal title, that he was just going to come out whenever he felt like it. And Roman Reigns did come out when he felt like it and won the match for his team. Hey, if this is part of the character, then fucking go forward with it.
I'm on board with it.
So, and that was SmackDown.
Herc, you got to stop, man. I can only pet one animal with one hand, not the fact that you're being a little bitch right now.
Anyway, so good, bad, and brainless.
So what is your good for this week, Cousin Joe?
I think we're actually going to be different on everything.
I think we are too.
I
got a feeling too.
All right. My good for this week is I love what they've done with the Paige, Hangman, and Young Bucks storyline. It's not your traditional wrestling storyline where everybody kind of has their issues and it's not so clear cut. I like the fact that Kenny Omega did not bust Hangman Page over the head, and I like the fact that the Young Bucks, when people are questioning them, decide they're going to super kick people and they have no remorse. So I love that. So that's my good.
I actually have two goods for this week. I can't believe I'm actually going to say it. Neither one of them is the one that you picked. One of my goods for this week was Britt Baker and Big Swole, and the fact that they kind of just had like a really good match for what it was. I was thoroughly entertained. It was something different. I had zero hopes for that match, and they delivered better than I thought they were going to. So I wanted to give kudos to the two women for that, and that's where I was going to go with that.
Sweet.
But my other good for this week is Cedric Alexander going into the Hurt business.
Yeah.
I was really worried about how they were going to book Cedric Alexander. They haven't done that good of a job with him, since Vince basically said that he just doesn't like Cedric Alexander for whatever reason.
Basically, since
and since Heyman left and everything. So the fact that Cedric Alexander turned on Ricochet and Apollo Crews and joined the Hurt Business was a good move in his,
For his development.
and I'm glad that he's part of the Hurt Business. So that's my good.
All right. My bad for this week is going to be the Jeff Hardy bump. That was like one of those
Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy bump. Well, I guess a combination of the bump and the fact that they continued the match. The bump, like, that was like an unnecessarily dangerous spot. You know, they're in the bowels of a stadium. If they would have done that bump in the middle of the turf, I can accept that more, because at least when you land on the turf, it's not going to be a hard, spot on the back of your head where you're getting absolutely pummeled. So I thought it was unnecessarily dangerous, and I didn't like the fact that the match continued, even though they said the doctors cleared them to continue.
Right.
You could tell he was still wobbly. They shouldn't have continued. So.
My bad, and it's not because it was bad, it's just because of what happened was actually bad. My bad goes to Ivar and the bump that he took on Monday, where they actually had to throw up the X's really quickly to say that he was injured. I'm still hoping that it's nothing really serious. The fact that they're saying that there is a contusion on his spine is not a good thing, but I'm hoping that everything works out. But just like the fact that he took that bump is bad, so that's why it's going to get my bad for this week.
All right.
Although I think your bad and my brainless are not going to be that far off.
My brainless is the fact that they used the term butt mud in a promo. Come on. It's so juvenile, and it's like the 70-plus-year-old or 75-year-old Vince McMahon thinks that is probably the funniest thing in the world. And whatever writer wrote that line, I'm guessing it actually was probably Vince McMahon who wrote that damn line. And Jey Uso is so much better of a promo than that. And it's just an embarrassment that he has to say a stupid line like that. So yeah.
My brainless goes to All Elite Wrestling for their negligence and their carelessness. And it's not just because of the fact that Matt Hardy took the bump that he took in that match, but they actually and then continued the match, and I'm pretty sure that they were like, oh yeah, the doctor said he was okay. But the fact is, in the 21-man Casino Battle Royale, there was a point where Brian Cage took Darby Allin, shoved him into a body bag, filled it with thumbtacks, and then just dumped him onto the outside of the.
And I'm sure Darby Allin's the one who's like wanted that to happen.
You just in a situation like that, it's like that's
management.
That's two bad decision calls, and just the negligence that AEW had for allowing both of those moments to happen. I'm sorry, that's just poor management right there. And AEW gets my brainless for this week because of the fact that they let two moments like that happen. I would have loved to, and trust me, I would have loved to have given it to Vince McMahon because I love giving Vince McMahon my brainless every week. But if I'm going to do it to Vince, I have to do it to AEW as well.
But beyond this, like, there was a lot of really good stuff. Like, we could have talked about, Miro debuting on AEW. His promo was great. The match with Balor and Adam Cole, baby.
I mean,
was great.
The Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa match from last weekend.
That was fucking great.
There was a lot. There was like at least 7 or 8 possibilities for my good for this week.
Yeah.
Mickey James getting the shot at the women's title this Monday.
Yes,
could have been my good. Otis Dosovich once again outsmarting the Miz and Morrison. Could have been my good for this week. The return of McBossman on the Firefly Funhouse could have been my good for this week. There was just so much good, and I love the fact that there was all this good this week. But it's just the fact that I think the brainless overshadowed it, and I would have went with butt mud too if I really wanted to.
But anyway.
If you like what you've seen this week, whether you are a continuous fan or somebody who is tuning in for the first time, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, letter F, the letter N,
MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us. We will do the same back. It has always been our motto.
Yeah. And make sure you go onto the Wrestling Marks page, facebook.com/WrestleMarks. And most of you are there already. But make sure you set up notifications for when we go live, that you will be notified that we are live.
And you get to see this wonderful face scream about wrestling for 2 hours.
All I can tell you is the brainless one pulled himself out of a brainless ditch from the beginning of the show.
I think the freaking monster definitely helped.
Yeah.
It's that freaking melatonin I've been taking at night. It's been giving me some funky dreams, and I'm in the fucking fog most of the mornings.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I think we've touched base on everything.
Yeah, I think we did. So
Wait. There is one more thing.
What's that?
That's because today, September 12th of 2020, at an astonishing 1,864 days, F and Marks Hall of Famer is still alive, and I scared the shit out of the cat, in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Thank you. Thank you.
Still to this day, the only person to appear in all 191 episodes of the F and Marks podcast.
That's right. So
for episode 191 of the F and Marks podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out.
With your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good week.
Football!
Yeah.
Yeah!